From legendary outlaws to street icons, I've never seen a student quite like this guy. He's got movie star looks, but academically, he's dimmer than a broken bulb. When they're bored, the school gang lays hands on him. When they're amused, they do the same. Even his father is constantly tough on him, pushing him to the limit. But nobody suspected that this lone wolf, this social outcast, was actually a combat prodigy. He didn't have a single coach or a day of formal training. Yet in Muay Thai, his techniques are lightning fast and incredibly powerful. When he finally snapped, he stood tall and solo against the entire campus mob at the midnight underground fights. So, who exactly is this kid? How did this intense journey of self-discovery begin? A legendary Muay Thai showdown worth crossing the country for. Get ready for Kahar Kapla High Council 2024. In Malaysia, there's a prep school that's widely known for all the wrong reasons. The school regularly hosts underground fight tournaments to decide who truly runs the campus. School violence here feels like part of everyday life. Before you even finish your morning routine, you're already getting roughed up. The weak are pushed into a life that feels like a living nightmare. What's most troubling is that not a single teacher steps in, allowing these confrontations to happen out in the open. Things get ugly fast. Climbing the ranks feels like stepping into a boxing ring, except there are no real rules. But one day, a single student ended the ruling gang's reign over the school. That student was Vanga, known for excelling both academically and physically, and also the son of a government senator named Maurice. Vanga led a revolt against the violence, challenging the current gang leader, Shadow, and emerging victorious. From that moment on, Vanga founded the High Council, a group made up of the school's most elite students, created to maintain order on campus. After Vanga took control, open violence at school came to an end. However, the old guard is still allowed to hold their annual tournaments to crown a gang leader. This means the students are only allowed to tear each other apart in the shadows of the midnight underground arena. Even so, Shadow never gave up on his ambition. He continued plotting behind the scenes, waiting for a chance to overthrow Vanga and the High Council and reclaim control of the school. Vanga is the model student, with achievements stacked across every field. The number of gold medals he's earned is so large you'd need a shipping container to haul them all. But standing in complete contrast is his younger brother Johnny, a 10th grader academically struggling, and timid to the point of always pulling back. Because of that, Senator Maurice often looks at Johnny with open disappointment. After being called in by the school one too many times over Johnny's poor performance, their father constantly compares him to Vanga. "Why did I end up with a son like you? Vanga makes me proud, while you do nothing but embarrass me." Those words cut deep for a teenager like Johnny, leaving him humiliated and crushed. Living in the shadow of both his father and his brother becomes a burden too heavy to bear. So, Johnny withdraws into himself, pouring all his frustration into relentless Muay Thai training, using it as his only escape. And just like that, the annual Midnight Underground Tournament kicks off. The opening bout of the qualifiers features a kid named Sam squaring off against a heavy hitter named Curly. Sam is Johnny's ride or die, the kind of friend who's been by his side since childhood. That's why Johnny is there in the crowd, cheering him on. As soon as the match begins, Curly makes it clear he has the upper hand. He easily shuts down Sam's moves. Curly is faster and stronger, using his arms for balance before spinning into a sweeping kick that sends Sam to the ground. Pressing his advantage, Curly rushes in, overwhelming Sam with a flurry of strikes, then follows up with a powerful kick that completely catches Sam off guard. Just as Curly moves in again, someone unexpectedly arrives. It's Vanga, accompanied by members of the High Council. The moment the council president steps in, Shadow immediately signals for the match to pause. However, since this arena still operates under its own rules, Vanga allows the match to continue. That brief pause gives Sam a chance to regroup and get back on his feet. But it doesn't change the outcome. Curly quickly closes the distance, driving a clean shot to the midsection before following up with a powerful kick that forces Sam to drop to one knee. When Sam tries to push forward, Curly counters and sends him back down to the mat. Johnny is about to rush in, but Vanga stops him. Turns out, Vanga is just here to drop off Johnny's allowance. "Dad stopped by, but he forgot to call you." "I'm not stupid," Johnny says. "I'm smart enough to know he doesn't want to see me. Don't disappoint Dad any further." With that, Vanga signals for Shadow to end the match. But Curly isn't one for following rules. He gives Sam's joints one last painful lock before finally letting go. Right after, Shadow announces Curly as the first fighter to move on to the next round. Grinning like he had just won the lottery, Curly hoists Sam's battered body over his shoulder, carrying him upside down like a trophy to celebrate his victory. After the match ends, Vanga tells Johnny to leave with him. He doesn't want his brother rubbing elbows with these low-life street thugs. As they pass through the main lobby, Vanga stops him in front of the trophy case. He points to the Wall of Fame, featuring their father, Senator Maurice, and says, "Don't see Dad's shadow as a burden. See it as a guide. If you follow the path he's laid out, success will come eventually. Everyone is born with their own destiny. You can't live your life just trying to please others." Knowing that her younger brother was stubbornly stupid and difficult to teach, Vanga holds back his frustration and softens his tone. "I have faith that you'll figure it out sooner or later." Later that night, Johnny returns to the room, and Sam immediately starts complaining. "If your brother hadn't shown up out of nowhere, I would have finished Curly for good. But seriously, Why'd he has to mess up this beautiful face of mine? At a loss for words, Johnny opens his locker and sees the Muay Thai shorts he always trains in. For a brief moment, the idea of becoming the school's top fighter flashes through his mind, but it fades just as quickly when he thinks about his father. Johnny tosses a bottle of liniment to his buddy and asks, "Why do you even want to be the big dog on campus anyway? You're a senator's kid, Johnny. You wouldn't get it. You've got money you don't even have to think about, and everyone bows down when you walk by. Your brother runs the High Council, nobody touches you. As for me, a genuine farmer by origin, spending my days with muddy hands and feet. I can only dream. If every 10th grade student in the school had to pay me $500, 10 students would give me 5. Oh, enough to buy my dad a truck to transport rice." Johnny can only sigh. He mutters, "My dad treats me like a lost cause, just because he's so damn successful." The following day, at the semester awards ceremony, Johnny seemed lost in his own world, completely absorbed in his thoughts. Suddenly, his father stood there and delivered a powerful slap to his face. "Ever since you forced me into this school, every day here has felt like a nightmare. Living under your name and Vanga's success, it's been crushing me. I don't want to be the senator's son. I don't want to be pushed into becoming someone I'm not." Johnny's words were getting sharper, and as his father raised his hand for another strike, Johnny caught his wrist, stopping him from cold. Johnny stomped on his glasses, shattering them into 1,000 pieces, and stormed off. He had officially lost it. His mind was a storm of raw, uncontrollable emotion. Fueled by anger, Johnny storms into the room where Curly is. Inside, Curly is cornering Sam again. He's about to serve up a knuckle sandwich when the school's top dog, Shadow, steps in and shuts it down. "Do you have no respect for the rules? If there's a problem, it gets settled in the arena. I'm taking Sam's place. Consider this my official challenge for the qualifiers." Sensing that this confrontation is unavoidable, Shadow quickly sets up an impromptu arena inside an empty room. The sudden match draws a crowd almost instantly. Nobody expected a soft kid like Johnny to step into the school's underground tournament. As the match begins, Curly charges in with full confidence. Johnny has trained relentlessly in Muay Thai, but this is his first real fight. He's caught off guard and knocked down early, then overwhelmed as Curly keeps the pressure on. Curly clearly enjoys himself, while Johnny struggles to regain his footing. Each time Johnny tries to stand, Curly shuts him down and sends him back to the floor. Seeing his best friend getting absolutely dismantled, Sam bolts out of the room to track down Johnny's big brother, Vanga. When the news hits Vanga like a ton of bricks, the two of them race back to the scene as fast as their legs can carry them. Curly finished his beatdown with a cheap shot, kicking Johnny across the floor. Then he started chirping, twisting the knife. "You're nothing but a spoiled brat hiding in the shadows of your old man and your perfect brother." Johnny's blood boiled, and he launched into a devastating knee strike that caught everyone off guard. He started reading Curly's moves, shutting him down at every turn. But just as the tide was turning, Vanga burst in. "What the hell is going on here?" Shadow was quiet, but Curly didn't stop. "Just a daddy's boy, huh? Need big bro to save you? Let him fight, Vanga. Or are you both just cowards?" The weak Johnny vanished, replaced by a hurricane force fury charging straight for Curly. Every strike was a display of pure power. Vanga tried to intervene, but Johnny silenced him with a wicked parting gift elbow, a clear message to stay out. Curly pulled a dirty move, trying to catch Johnny off guard with a cheap shot. He relished every second, knowing he and Vanga were bitter rivals who loathed each other's guts. Disappointed by his brother's thug behavior, Vanga walked away. Johnny slammed a brutal hook into Curly's ribs, only to have his arms locked, but he broke out of it instantly. Johnny countered with a strike, only to be trapped in a leg lock to the neck. He engaged his core, hoisted Curly high into the air, and sent him crashing to the floor, leaving him completely dazed. The beating didn't stop until he finally pounded the floor in surrender. At the end of the match, Shadow announced that Johnny officially replaces Curly to advance to the next round. The crowd went wild, chanting Johnny's name like he was a hero, and for the first time, he felt a surge of pure satisfaction. However, Johnny was unaware that Shadow was plotting a sinister plan. Because he had lost control and punched his older brother in the mouth earlier that day, Johnny brought a bottle of medicinal oil to Vanga that night as an apology. Despite that, his brother didn't say a single word. Only when Johnny placed a medicine bottle on the table and turned to leave did Vanga say, "I never thought you'd lower yourself to fighting those reckless amateurs. When are you going to stop embarrassing me and Dad?" "Do I embarrass you that much, big brother? I just want you to achieve even a fraction of what Dad did. Dad's life is his business. No one gets to live my life for me." Johnny shot back. With that, Johnny walked out, leaving Vanga so furious. As Johnny walked down the hallway, he bumped into some punk, but Shadow quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Knowing exactly what had happened between the brothers, Shadow called Johnny aside and said, "So even your own brother Vanga treats you like trash? Let me tell you a story." Shadow then took Johnny to the back courtyard and spoke quietly. "Your brother and I were best friends back when we were just kids. We promised that once we hit prep school, we'd take down all the top dogs and rule the place together. But when power and status came into play, Vanga sold us all out. He staged an uprising and formed the High Council. Turns out, he was just using me to wipe out the old leaders. But you're different. You never hid behind your senator father's shadow. You're your own man." A legit Muay Thai striker. Hearing Shadow praise him for standing on his own 2 feet made Johnny genuinely happy. For once, someone acknowledged his effort. Fueled by Shadow's subtle manipulation, Johnny became determined to claim the title of school kingpin and prove his worth. What Johnny didn't realize was that Shadow was pushing him straight into a war meant to destroy the High Council and specifically his brother Vanga. In the days that followed, Johnny began training Muay Thai with discipline and structure, with his friend helping him every step of the way. Rain or shine, the two of them trained relentlessly. They trained during the day until they forgot to eat, and at night until they forgot to sleep. When Johnny reached the peak of his form, the 4 official qualifying matches began. The bouts played out one after another, quickly determining who would advance to the semi-finals. Everyone fought with everything they had. Meanwhile, Vanga secretly planted one of his fighters from the High Council into the tournament, and the men swiftly advanced. When it was Johnny's turn, his opponent turned out to be none other than Shadow himself. Although Shadow was also a candidate for school kingpin that season, he suddenly forfeited. The truth was, Shadow wanted to pave the way for Johnny to advance, using him as a weapon against Vanga. Vanga knew Shadow was plotting something dirty, but there was nothing he could do. The semi-final finally arrived. Before Johnny stepped into the ring, Shadow gave him another psychological boost. I don't regret stepping aside for you. You're a rare talent, the kind of fighter people can't ignore. After Shadow left, Johnny's friend Sam warned him. You say you don't want to walk the path your dad and brother laid out. But right now, it looks like you're walking exactly where Shadow wants you to. Johnny brushed it off and said there was nothing to worry about. The semi-final took place on a stormy, rain-soaked night. The crowd packed the arena wall to wall, electrifying the atmosphere. Johnny's opponent was a fighter known as Axel. Axel is an upperclassman with 2 years of competitive experience. Facing a 10th grader like Johnny, Axel looked supremely confident. The fight began. After the initial greetings, Axel charged forward, using his speed to overwhelm Johnny before he could react. Axel leapt into the air and slammed a heavy punch straight into Johnny's chest, sending him flat onto the mat. Johnny struggled back to his feet and tried to counter, but it barely made a dent. Frustrated, Johnny threw a flying knee, but it missed, and Axel smashed his leg in return. Axel grabbed Johnny by the hair and stomped his face into the ground in open provocation. When Johnny lifted his head, he saw the vice chairman of the High Council, the man Vanga had planted in the tournament. Spitting on the ground in contempt, Johnny forced himself back into the fight. This time, when Axel rushed in, Johnny twisted his arm, making him scream in pain. Axel hoisted Johnny up and smashed his head into him to break the hold. He followed up with a brutal elbow strike to suppress his opponent. At that moment, Vanga arrived. Seeing his brother go berserk and hearing the crowd chant Johnny's name, Vanga burned with rage. Realizing that his foolish brother had fallen straight into Shadow's trap, Vanga had no choice but to turn and walk away. Standing alone in the pouring rain, he blamed himself for failing to stop Johnny and for disappointing their father once again. Back inside the arena, Johnny has Axel pinned, locking him in a brutal chokehold. Before Axel can even think about slipping out, Johnny's got him in a vice grip. Shadow shouted that Johnny should secure the victory. Axel foolishly tried to provoke another exchange and got punched cleanly, shot after shot. When he charged again, Johnny kicked him face first into the ground. Give up, or I won't hold back. But Axel is one of those he'd rather fall than surrender types. He staggers back up. Johnny lunges with a knee, but Axel catches him with a desperate hook that leaves Johnny's lip a bloody mess. I told you to stop. Why didn't you listen? Johnny surged forward, smashed an elbow into Axel's face, then spun and whipped a back kick that flattened him. Still not satisfied, Johnny unleashed a flurry of strikes, looking to close out the fight once and for all. Shadow watched with delight. The more unhinged Johnny became, the easier he would be to control. Sam realized his friend had gone too far and rushed in to stop him, but Johnny is so far gone he almost strikes Sam by mistake in his fury. When Johnny finally snapped out of it, Shadow declared him the winner and announced his advancement to the final, where the crown of school kingpin awaited. Sam immediately went to find Vanga and said, Johnny's like he's possessed. I tried talking to him, but he wouldn't listen. I'll handle it, Vanga replied. With that, Vanga phoned his father and filled him in on every detail. On the other hand, Johnny sensed something was wrong and decided to look for Vanga, but Shadow stopped him. Don't bother with that idiot brother of yours. He's a guy who'd sell his own soul just to save face, willing to abandon his friends and even his own brother. Back in the day, even after he won our match, but still kept punching me half to death. Why? Because he had to prove he was the alpha. So, if we want control of this school back, uprising is the only way. Shadow's words further ignited Johnny's obsession with becoming a kingpin. The next day, Johnny is walking tall through the hallways, soaking in the newfound respect from everyone he passes. But when he crossed paths with Sam, his friend suddenly turned cold and walked away. Then the intercom summoned Johnny to the principal's office. Waiting inside was none other than his father, Senator Maurice. Having heard Johnny entered the Kingpin tournament, he came personally. Johnny's possessed, that's what your friend said. I never thought you'd sink this low. If this legacy falls into the hands of street punks, it'll collapse. You're stabbing your own brother in the back. Do you understand that? You've dragged my name through the mud. If you're so tough, go ahead and hit me. Johnny, overwhelmed with resentment, snapped. You're right. I ruined your name, and I don't need a father like you. Johnny stormed out and immediately confronted Sam. Why did you tell him I'm fighting in the tournament? I only told Vanga you seemed possessed. How's that any different? Blinded by rage, Johnny snaps. I hate nothing more than a backstabber. It kills me that you were the one person I actually trusted. He ripped off his white shirt and walked away. Meanwhile, Vanga leads his council enforcers straight to Shadow's room. I know exactly what game you're playing. Leave my brother out of this. Shadow just smirks. What if I like it that way? If he doesn't want a brother who trades family for fame, then who am I to stop him? Vanga exploded with rage. So, this is a group ambush? The High Council is breaking its own rule, no fighting outside the ring. You're no better than street punks. But if you're planning uprising, you'd better pre-book a hospital bed. You're a piece of trash. History is about to repeat itself. With that, Vanga ordered everyone to leave. Shadow throws one last jab. Hey, Vanga, thank you. And thank your old man too. It's because you two are so damn cruel to Johnny that it's been so easy for me to play him like a fiddle. Blood boiling, Vanga charged in, but Johnny blocked him. bracing with one arm and driving an elbow into Vanga's chest, sending him crashing backward onto the bed. It was something Vanga, as an older brother, could hardly believe his own eyes. After Johnny was knocked down, the High Council members rushed at Shadow, but after taking down 2 of them, something fell off. Spotting an opening at the doorway, Shadow immediately cut and ran. Caught off guard by that move, Johnny was left behind to fight alone, doing his best to hold the line. Johnny dominated the remaining enforcers, leaving them with no chance to counterattack. After dropping 4 of them, a guy named LK finally stepped in. Right after that, several others swarmed in and started beating Johnny down together. Vanga called for a halt, making it look like he would show mercy to his brother, but instead, he lashed out with no mercy. Every blow didn't just hurt Johnny's body, it shattered his heart. They were blood brothers, yet now they were engaged in a fierce struggle without mercy. Just as Vanga was about to finish it, someone stepped in and took the hit for Johnny. It was Sam. Seeing blood spilled, the others immediately scattered and fled. Johnny held Sam in his arms, praying he would wake up. "Why did you take that kick for me? Stay with me, brother. Don't you give up." After Johnny slapped him once, Sam came back around. Johnny was overwhelmed with relief. Elsewhere, Vanga felt shaken by what he had just done. As the chairman of the High Council, he had left another student in serious condition, and worse, that student was his own brother. When he suddenly returned to the room, he found his father sitting there, waiting. Feeling guilty for breaking the High Council's rules, Vanga stayed silent until his father spoke. "I know you've always followed the path I laid out for you. You're the perfect son, but you failed to protect your brother. Today, he even grabbed me and tried to punch me." "I'm sorry, I made a mistake too," Vanga replied. He expected to be scolded, but instead his father said, "I already know everything. What you did was the right thing. He needed to be taught a lesson. I'll always stand behind you." After his father left, Vanga knew exactly what he had to do next. On the other side, after seeing Shadow's true colors, Johnny said to Sam, "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I turned my back on the road my father set for me, only to fall straight into a trap. So, what's your next move?" Sam asks. "I've found my own path. I won't be anyone's pawn. I won't serve under anyone. I'll stand alone against whoever comes." At that moment, Shadow appeared again, trying to justify himself. "I had no choice. The situation was critical. You saw your brother, didn't you? He completely overpowers his own brother. We must stage an uprising and take back what we lost." Johnny nods, secretly plotting his own move while Shadow grins, thinking he's still in control. That night, everything was set for the final match. Johnny trained Muay Thai like a man with nothing left to lose, then tore his family photo in half, declaring he would stand on his own 2 feet. Shadow had been waiting for this day for a long time. Vanga, burning with determination, prepared to wipe out the school kingpin faction that very night. Soon after, everyone headed toward the school's night market arena. Johnny's opponent in the final was none other than LK, vice chairman of the High Council. If LK defeated Johnny, the entire school bully gang would be abolished. The fight began. Johnny charged in first, but his attacks barely phased LK. Thinking he was all that, LK rushed forward only to get absolutely wrecked by Johnny. Johnny was no longer who he used to be. Punches carry a massive impact, leaving LK unable to stand. The crowd was stunned, especially Vanga. In the end, LK was forced to forfeit, or he'd be leaving the ring in an ambulance. Vanga couldn't believe what he was seeing. At that moment, Shadow ordered his men to chant in unison, "Take over, take over." He wanted Johnny to clash with his own brother while he sat back and reaped the rewards. Under the pressure of the crowd, Vanga had no choice but to step forward. Thinking Shadow would fight, Vanga threatened, "I'll beat you into the ground." "Sorry," Shadow replied. "I dropped out back in the quarterfinals." The one waiting for Vanga was Johnny, his own brother. Under Johnny's defiant gaze, Vanga took off his shirt, ready to fight. Vanga declared, "The uprising is approved." And just like that, the fratricidal battle began. Vanga was also a Muay Thai fighter. When Johnny rushed in, Vanga leapt up and drove a devastating knee into him, sending Johnny rolling across the ground. But that was just the beginning. Vanga's skill first surpassed Johnny's. Every move Johnny made, Vanga saw coming and dodged with ease. The speed and precision of Vanga's strikes overwhelmed Johnny. Johnny was slammed hard onto the mat. Living up to his title as chairman of the High Council, Vanga pressed forward and beat his brother relentlessly. Grabbing Johnny by the collar, Vanga snarled, "You've brought nothing but shame to me and father." That insult shattered Johnny's pride. He snapped back with fury. Johnny showed he was no pushover, unleashing lethal techniques as fast as the wind. Johnny shot in for a leg grab but was kicked by Vanga. Undeterred, Johnny launched another storm of attacks, spinning into a crushing elbow to Vanga's chest. "Is this the life you really want?" Fighting in the shadows, Vanga shouted. Fueled by rage, Vanga countered with a brutal kick that sent Johnny reeling. He followed with a body-piercing punch, then hoisted Johnny up and hurled him into the crowd. Johnny could no longer fight back and hit the floor. His brain is telling him to fight, but his legs just aren't listening anymore. Vanga lost his cool, unleashing a barrage of heavy strikes on Johnny, then sneered, "You're just a thug. How could you ever stand on the same level as us? You're nothing but a distraction, a complete disappointment to the family. I'm the one who holds power here." Seeing this arrogance, Shadow shouted, "Stop! You're just a dog. Know your place and shut up." Shadow instantly backed down, saying nothing. Finally, Vanga delivered the final blow. "Father has lost all hope in you." Those words pushed Johnny past his breaking point. He could endure no more. Just as Vanga was about to land the finishing blow, Johnny snapped back, smashing a punch straight into his brother's face. He grabbed Vanga by the collar, yanked him up, then kicked him hard, sending him crashing across the floor. Johnny was haunted by every insult Vanga had thrown at him. Fueled by that rage, he stunned Vanga with a sharp strike, then followed up with a decisive elbow to secure his lead. I am me. I don't want to become anyone else. Johnny's emotions took over as he delivered a final heavy blow to Vanga's guard. In his mind, he saw the image of his controlling father and stunned again. Seeing Johnny G berserk, Shadow poured fuel on the fire. Harder, end this, right now. Shadow was thrilled. Only Sam dared to step in. Ignoring Shadow's threats, Sam shouted for Johnny to stop. Exhausted, Johnny finally collapsed to the ground. Even then, Shadow kept yelling, "Finish the match, now!" Johnny stood up and walked away. Shadow screamed in rage. "He humiliated you. Why won't you do it, Johnny? I'm the boss. I'm ordering you." When Shadow tries to step in and finish Vanga himself, Johnny shuts him down instantly. "You're nothing. I'm the school king now and the chairman of the High Council. You dropped out in the quarterfinals. You have no authority here." Shadow had no choice but to swallow his anger. Sam helped Johnny onto the winner's platform. The crowd roared his name, worshipping him like a god. With power in his hands, Johnny brought bullying back to the school. Students were tormented as if they were living in hell. Everyone feared him like a demon. He even kicked one of his own friends off the platform for eating without paying. When Senator Maurice heard about this, he was devastated. Eventually, Johnny graduated from prep school. But looking back at everything he had done, regret consumed him. He didn't want to follow the path his father chose, yet he still lost his way. The media exposed his actions. Being a senator's son, his conduct was heavily condemned by the press. When Johnny returned home, his father didn't welcome him, only stared with contempt. Johnny saw Vanga again but couldn't say a single word. That night, Johnny entered the family's trophy room, filled with his father's and brother's achievements. Overwhelmed by regret, he broke down, crushed by his youthful mistakes. Just then, his father walked in. He held up a newspaper headline about the senator's son, the notorious school king. "I did all this just to put food on the table, not for pride. Do you even know how much money this world demands?" Johnny picked up a bat and smashed the displays. "If you hadn't forced me into that elite school, none of this would have happened." As his father tried to stop him, they struggled. Johnny accidentally shoved his father to the ground. As Johnny turned to leave, his father spoke. "Do you know your grandfather was a fisherman? We were so poor that even the fish he caught had to be sold for rice. We never got to taste it. I only wanted you boys to live better, to never fall behind." "No, Dad," Johnny replied. "You have to believe there's something more important than money. I just want to live my own life. You only get one shot at life. I don't want to regret never walking my own path, win or lose." Hearing this, his father finally understood. Both of them stood there, eyes filled with tears. As Johnny walked back to his room, his father broke down and cried. The next day, Johnny packed his things and left to find a life of his own. As he walked down the road, Vanga pulled up and offered him a ride. Johnny asked about his overseas study plans. Vanga said they were cancelled. "You're kidding, right?" "Dead serious." "Why did you give it up?" "Because it's not my path. You always say we should walk the road we choose." "I thought it through. What we did at school was stupid and insane." "High Council? What joke." At last, the brothers cleared the weight from their hearts. At the train station, they said goodbye. Vanga said, "I believe you'll find yourself. You're the first school king who realized he was wrong and dared to fix it." They shared one last hug, a real one, and went their separate ways. Seeing both sons abandon the path he laid out, Senator Maurice burned all of Vanga's trophies. Later on, Johnny moved to a new place, selling hamburgers on the street. Suddenly, someone appeared, one of the kids Johnny used to torment back at school. The boy didn't blame him, just smiled and asked, "So, how's life? You can tell I might not be a big shot like the rest, but I've finally found some peace." "Then we're both okay. Seeing you happy makes me happy too. Success or failure, we've got to stay hopeful." They spent time talking about the past. This film shows that school violence exists everywhere. Young people must realize that violence only leads to failure. Johnny lost his way chasing power as the school king, only to regret it after graduation. So, let's all do our part to kick bullying out of our schools for good. You might not have $1 billion in the bank, but you've got family, and that's worth more than anything. Don't let loneliness win. If you enjoyed this journey, join the Predator Recap Squad. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and bell that notification to show some love. I appreciate every single one of you. Love y'all. Mwah mwah. Catch y'all later.